But okay, Mark, we knew this installment was coming. We knew that this one was going to be very different
Yes.
from the others.
Incredibly different.
But I like how you had mentioned it in the last episode too, that this episode, for being its own thing, caused a correction that also made all the other movies possible.
Yeah. And it's not a bad movie. I really enjoyed watching it. It felt to me, now having seen this movie for the first time since the rest of the franchise came out, it feels like a Monster of the Week episode of like X-Files. You know how X-Files had like an overreaching story through the whole thing, and then there would be 1 week where it's just like, we're not talking about the story. It's just there's a monster that we need to take care of. It feels like that. Like, hey, this is something that happened also, but it really doesn't have a bearing on the larger story. It's just a fun romp.
It came out May 24th, 2000. This movie was a little bit longer. It was 2 hours and 3 minutes long. Still, actually, I thought this movie actually was not financially successful, but I realized I'm very wrong on that.
Really?
While it was more expensive at $125 million, it still made $546 million globally. Huge leap in budget, but also it did just much better at the box office too. It was the highest grossing film of 2000 worldwide. Some other things. Oh,
wow, really?
Well, because I remember also, do you remember for Mission Impossible 2, one thing that helped a lot of the marketing and promotional stuff was the soundtrack.
Oh, yeah.
The soundtrack was a very big part of it. Not just, by the way, Hans Zimmer, who did a great job, had a lot of fun with it, but I completely forgot that
Limp Bizkit,
did that song. That was it was played everywhere, nonstop.
So, Rob, I have a memory associated with this song.
Okay.
And it was me, Chris Chang, and Michael Deogary-Carr in a car together at a Castellea High School dance, because we were in high school when this came out. And either Chris or Mike was driving, and they rolled down all the windows and put that song on and blasted it. And Chris was in the front seat, like his arm on a thing, like looking so cool. I was in the back seat, mortified, like ducking down, hiding, trying not anyone to see my face. It was so embarrassing. And I forgot about it. And watching this today, and hearing it, it brought it back. It brought that memory back.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. But I mean, look, this music, again, it made the movie stand out.
It really did. And it's a great song.
Totally. Well, and the actual score itself too. So Hans Zimmer doing that score, he really nailed what like a John Woo movie is supposed to be like.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be these very stylized, over the top. And I learned this is what actually made Cruise really want John Woo to make this at the time. Just after the first mission came out, Face Off came out, and he's like, oh, okay, people like this over-stylized action, and I think this movie, Face Off, and this movie had a lot of feel of like Face Off in it. But this movie is such a mix of things that shouldn't work well together, but they did. So the writer is Robert Towne, who wrote Chinatown. And I'm like, that
really
doesn't feel like this, but okay.
Wow, how interesting.
And here's one of the craziest things with this movie.
Yeah.
So the actor who plays the villain, the character Sean Ambrose, that actor's name is Dougray Scott.
Okay.
Now, he dropped out of a major movie in a major role to be Sean Ambrose. Do you know what role he took from what movie?
Oh, great question. Okay, 2000. I want to say it's not a Marvel movie, is it? It's too early for Marvel.
It wasn't Marvel yet. So he dropped out of X-Men, and the role of Wolverine went to Hugh Jackman.
Wow. Oh
but
my God.
It was his role. Like they cast him.
What a stupid move. Oh my God. It would be completely different.
I am happy the stars aligned the way they did.
100%. 100%.
Because Jackman, I think, has been awesome as
Hugh Jackman is Wolverine. Say what you want to about the Wolverine movies. I would say 90% of them are just unwatchable. Yeah. But he's Wolverine. Like he's who I think of when I think of Wolverine.
I mean, at least with the Bryan Singer X-Men movies, like I can't imagine someone else taking on those roles.
Especially Gray Scott. I don't see that, him as Wolverine at all. I cannot see that.
Let's get into the likes, because there's, for all the teasing, and I will have plenty on that too.
Yes.
There's a lot that I think we both enjoy, right? Like,
yes, absolutely.
With this movie. So like, what would be something that...
Tom Cruise, Ethan Hunt with long hair. It's the best he's looked. He looks so hot in this movie, and Thandie Newton looks so hot in this movie. Like when they are in the bathtub scene together at the very beginning, when she's like trying to steal, I got major Mask of Zorro vibes, like Antonio Banderas and Catherine Zeta-Jones, where you're just looking at the two most attractive human beings on the planet flirting with each other. They both look in their prime amazing in this.
Yeah, I think Thandie Newton, besides being great, and of course I'm a big fan of when she was on the Westworld. I mean, or the HBO Westworld series.
Westworld,
the Westworld. But yeah, also easily I think the most beautiful actress that's been in this franchise so far.
Agreed. Just stunning.
And then we talked about the music. Hans Zimmer just goes full John Woo, and I think he does a really great job with that. The setting, being in Australia, I thought Australia.
I know. It becomes a character almost. It's a really big choice.
They played, I think, with the scenery, the colors. I think that also brought a lot of excitement to the movie. Then there's some stuff that I enjoyed, but it's only there for like a fleeting second. Brendan Gleeson as the pharmaceutical CEO. I'm like, okay, like I love seeing this guy and stuff, but you're only in it for like a minute.
Hardly. Yeah, and same with Anthony Hopkins. I was watching it, and I texted you, and I was like, Anthony Hopkins is in this movie? Like, what?
I mean, and the fact that he actually says the franchise name, this is not Mission Danger or whatever, like difficult, it's Mission Impossible. I'm like,
it's like, okay, that's what we're doing.
I'm just sitting there being like, he's really happy he's saying that right now.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Totally.
Like,
he was like, add something about me saying Mission Impossible, and I'll sign on to your movie.
And I didn't save the name of the actor. Actually, I'm going to quickly Google this.
Yeah.
The actor who plays Sean Ambrose as like Lieutenant, the goon.
Oh, yes. He looks very familiar too. He's a big role in this.
Yeah. He's the character's name is Hugh Stamp, and the actor is Richard Roxburgh. And he was really good because this whole thing of, the henchman, like Sean is just tunnel vision on Thandie Newton's character, and his henchman's like, hey, why is she really here? Like, wake up. And they play with that character so much, and there's kind of a face-off moment with that too, which we'll get to in a moment, which is awesome.
I want to share one thing I like about this movie is the stunt at the beginning on like the classic rock climbing thing, which was kind of a huge selling point for this movie. Like it was in all of the promotion was Tom Cruise is climbing this rock face. Is he supported? Who knows, and we had to take out $10 million of insurance, whatever. But Saurabh, that scene, every Mission Impossible has its stunt, right?
Right.
That scene for me is by far the most impressive, the most anxiety inducing, and the funnest. I don't know what it is about seeing him like jumping and climbing and being like free climbing on this mountain. But oh my God, I was like sweating watching it. You can drive a bike off the mountain, you can hang off a plane. Like those feel a lot more controlled than this. Yeah. Like this felt really insane.
And then at the beginning, when he's climbing that and he swings and he's facing away from the cliff, with both hands and staring at the camera. Yeah. And actually, this movie, again, it's not the first Mission Impossible to do this, that it uses music that is just very random, it seems like, but it's great placement. The Aiko song that's playing when he's doing all of this.
Yes.
So,
yes.
I remember the first time watching the movie and he's climbing and then you hear that fade in. I'm like, wait, the Rain Man music is playing in the movie? Okay.
Yeah,
I mean, like, but it's silly and it totally works. Yeah.
it feels very early 2000s, late 90s. You know, it's just like, and now we have the soundtrack. You know, it feels weird, but it oddly works.
Well, and then he gets to the top and the helicopter arrives. They shoot the little rocket looking thing with the,
Yeah.
I love that they're Oakleys, like very clearly, like Oakleys. I'm like, whatever. Okay, Oakley, good. You paid your fee, you know, just like.
Yeah. That was a huge part of the promotion too, is Tom Cruise throwing the Oakleys at the camera while they explode. There was a lot of looking into the camera in this movie.
I don't think of this movie as a Mission Impossible movie.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
I fully lean into it as a John Woo movie. Look at the poster. The poster, besides having the big MI2, in the background of it is just flames and doves.
I'm going to look it up right now. Oh, you know, I remember like, this. Yeah.
It's either the flames and doves or it's like Cruise on the motorcycle. And
it's an action movie. It's a John Woo action movie.
And it checks all the boxes of John Woo. Do we have doves? Yes.
Yes.
Do we have barrel rolls? Yes. You know, we absolutely do. Do we have standoffs? We many times have standoffs and slow motion on everything.
Oh my God. Yeah. And I did not mind it. Like typically with slow motion, I think it can be a little lazy. Like in Zack Snyder movies, I kind of find like this style that just doesn't work for me. But this, I don't know what it is. I'd have to think about it. But I really kind of liked the slow motion, the use of it.
Is it right to say that this movie went full ham and that's actually why it's enjoyable? But it's full ham in a John Woo way. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. It is very over the top. And okay, yes. And what I would add to that is it takes itself really seriously. Like we kind of touched on it a couple times on the podcast, but these late 90s, early 2000 movies that have no levity. It's all about the gritty reboot of James Bond. There's the gritty Batman. Like we were really excited about like darker storytelling, and there's no funniness. And I think we're all exhausted on that as a collectively, as a Earthlings. And so when you watch these movies, like there's no fun to be had in this. No one's cracking a joke. Maybe Ving Rhames somewhere. Maybe when they're flirting. But like it takes itself very seriously in addition to being hammy and over the top. It's a really weird combination.
I mean, I have a few of my favorite hammy moments that I gotta share.
Yeah.
I don't even know, the Porsche and Audi flirt chase, I guess is what I would call it. And the moment where the cars are actually swirling together and their hair is twirling in the air, and you know, like looking it's at each other but at the camera.
Right. So like over the top.
Every time. It doesn't matter if it was in the theater, at home, wherever. I laugh every time I see that scene. You know, we mentioned the Anthony Hopkins casually saying it's Mission Impossible, but that was fun. That one, I let it go because he's just like, hey, I got to be in a Mission Impossible movie.
Exactly. I feel the same way.
But then the other two parts are when Ethan wants to escape the lab. He's trying to escape the lab with Naya, but he can't.
Right.
So he knows he has to come back and get her. He like dramatically like looks at her and just screams, stay alive. I'm not going to lose you.
Yeah. Their like noses are touching. He's screaming in her face. I thought the same thing, Saurabh. I was laughing at the same part because it's just so hammy.
It's, you know, like I have this, by the way, all in the like section because I enjoy this, like these over the top things. And then the last one, we were talking about this, I remember earlier, we were texting about it, the motorcycle joust and mid-air collision.
Oh my God. I mean, so ridiculous, so detached from reality in the best way possible.
I hear when you've told me before, hey man, like you got to suspend your disbelief. I'm like, right. But if two guys are going at full speed on their speed bikes at each other and jump midair, they're going to die instantaneously.
They're going to die instant. You know what it really gave me the vibe of is like pro wrestling because they They jump at each other. Like you said, they're going full speed head on towards each other. Tom Cruise and the villain jump. They collide midair and they fall like 30 feet off of a cliff and land on the sand. Mm-hmm. And then Cruise and this guy, I can't remember his name, but DeGray Scott, they proceed to beat the shit out of each other. And Tom Cruise is like, he's doing like wrestling moves.
Oh, yeah,
He's jumping in the air, he's flipping, and he's landing on the guy who's lying prone with like the bottom of his outstretched leg. Right. That is a wrestling move. Like it's so bizarre.
The other part that like even like right before the collision, like with the bikes, when Cruise is on his bike and Ambrose is chasing him, and he uses the little rear view side mirror to shoot. Yeah,
rad.
That's
so good.
I don't know
and it keeps going too. It's a long chase.
That fight at the end also made me think of two things: that the music got a lot more dramatic. There were drums and and then slow motion kind of came back into it. The other thing is, I think more than any of the other movies in the series, I didn't really notice this until watching it this time. The gunshot sounds, like sound design, the guns sound like cannons in this movie. Every single shot is like very exaggerated.
Very.
And
also there's a scene where Thandie Newton, the love interest, slaps the villain. It sounds like someone getting just their claw cleaned. Like it is the loudest punching sound I've ever heard in a movie. And it's little tiny Thandie Newton slapping someone. I was like, it startled me. But it's all the violence sound effects are really just like cranked. Is that a John Woo thing?
I think so. Even with Face Off, I remember it was very much the same thing. He likes to accent everything. It's his way of saying, like, if you're not paying attention, I want you to be paying attention at this moment. Because like Face Off, there were many times I remember in that movie too where he does that. Just the littlest action.
Yeah.
I don't know why it has a big whoosh sound or cannon, whatever. Like he goes big on
his
sound.
Signature.
Definitely. And now I just want to check before we switch to dislikes.
Yes, there is something actually. When Tom Cruise is breaking into the lab to destroy the virus. So the whole thing, I guess we should like say this is, the whole thing is the villain is trying to release a deadly virus, right? Mm. Or he's trying to obtain a virus. And Cruise breaks in and tries to destroy it at some point. And the break-in carried on the tradition of having no score. From the last one, when he's breaking into the CIA, it's perfectly silent, only sound effects of the room. And in this one, I really like to see the continuation of that treatment. He's breaking in and you just hear the whir of the generator that he's walking past. And it's like, it stands out in the movie to me because John Woo is so overwhelming with his sound effects and his scoring. It's not a long scene, but it felt like a callback to me.
It's like the Langley scene. It's basically him being propelled back down. Well, I mean, he jumps, but same. It's just
and in this one he is jumping. He's descending from the roof, just like in the first one. So it makes me wonder, Saurabh. Like now, I'm going to have an eye out for it when we watch number 3. Is if there's a scene that is high suspense with no soundtrack. I can't remember. It's been so long since I've seen it.
For the dislike section, though.
Yes.
Should I go first or do you want to?
You go first.
Okay. I actually, what I like, we're talking about dislikes and I say I like that my dislike list is not long because these are like nitpicky things because I already know in my mind I don't think of it as a Mission Impossible movie. So I'm not going to note it as that. But the things that I did notice still that were not great. So minor issue, I'd mentioned Brendan Gleeson, I feel like underused. He's a great actor. Also, Thandie Newton, like she's good. So she's a positive, but we're still in that time where we're not giving women strong lead roles. Like, she's the damsel in distress really more than, because once we get into 3 through 7, you have Kerry Russell, who's awesome. You have Haley Atwell. You have these actresses who they are not going to just stand by. They act,
Totally.
So there's that. The character of Billy, who was the helicopter pilot, very cartoonish.
I completely had blocked this character from my mind. I was like, wait, who is this, a villain? Like, who is this guy? I had no recollection of this guy.
So he acted in this movie, but he's actually a director. He did like there was some movie called Swim Fan, which was like a
Oh my
drama
God, he
thriller.
did Swim Fan?
Yeah,
I'm
you
very
know?
familiar with Swim Fan. It speaks to me that they knew they needed a Simon Pegg type comic relief
Mm.
character to it, and it's just not pulled off in this at all. You know, like
Yeah.
it really paved the way, and it's like I'm glad Simon Pegg took the reins for this, but it doesn't work for me.
Yeah, at least with the next installments, they got Simon Pegg, and now they've added some more fun characters. But another issue, I would say, some moments I didn't understand why the CGI was like kind of weird. The specific examples that I want to give here is that like there's so many like good scenes of visual effects, but like when they're on the plane and it's showing the plane going across the sky, you know what I mean?
So
I don't get
takes you out of it.
some movies, I don't know why, just for that part, they don't care. And I'm like, yeah, this little thing could still be annoying. Probably most people won't care. I get that I'm being nitpicky, but
But it does take you out of it. I actually know the exact moment you're talking about because I had the same thought. And it's just like, why include it? Like if it's crummy looking CGI, like it's a kind of a throwaway shot. It's just a plane gliding along, you know?
yeah, I mean, MI1 did a much better job with the British Airways,
Yes,
scenes.
yes.
I'm like, okay, you could have just taken stock footage or something,
Right.
like
Right. It can't be that hard to do. I wonder about that decision. Like
Yeah.
what was happening to leave that in?
But then the last part, which really is a big issue, is that there was not much of that team dynamic
I was
in
going to
this
say the
movie.
same thing.
It's like it's the kind of Tom Cruise like one man action opera in this
Right.
in this version. But I like that we're going to see with the next ones they course correct on that.
Yes.
And now I have a little part of like calling it miscellaneous. But we covered one of the two points I have here. The Tom Cruise hair, which
Yeah.
I mean definitely
I love
is
it.
like the best of the Mission series. And I think actually for this Final Reckoning, he kind of like grew it out again. It looks a little bit more
Oh, excellent. Great.
not quite like as long as this one, but it was getting there.
It's longer than his buzz cut, basically. Yes.
And then the other thing too is that because I remember we committed some time to this in the last movie, and it just stuck with me. This is the last Mission movie, Mark. I think you're going to be happy to hear this. The last Mission Impossible film with the old school on-screen computing. Thinking of all the
no, I love the on screen, the old stuff. I was gonna bring that up too. Like it's great in this movie. It's not as robust as the previous one, but there is a lot of on screen old software that looks
no
great.
sending, jamming signal, internet
None of
access.
that, unfortunately, but there is a little bit. Like I think the biotech firm that made the virus, like Brendan Gleeson, there's like it looks like a DVD menu. And I'm not sure if it was a website or if it was like from a disc, but like he's speaking to whoever's watching it, and there's like a list of things you can click on the side. It was very bizarre. I didn't know what I was looking at.
With Mission 3 and after, they modernize. I feel like I can easily imagine this. If Simon Pegg is joining the franchise, he's like, guys, it doesn't look like that shit. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like,
Right, totally.
I mean,
I wonder though, Saurabh, I wonder if we're not going to be surprised and see, because it extends to when, even in some recent movie, when they're hacking and you see their screen. I'm so fascinated by the graphical interfaces that are made specifically for these movies.
for movies, right?
Because they're so hyper focused on getting information across, they're wildly impractical. And I love, in conjunction with that, I love when they make sounds. Like which would be the last thing you want a piece of software to do, is to make beep, 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 beep sounds while you're trying to hack. You know, it's one of my favorite things in these type of movies.
And I'm wondering if like these UIs and interfaces that are designed for these movies, if it's being done because they are not allowed to use something that belongs to Apple or belongs to Microsoft.
I'm curious. I'm sure that's a part of it, because you see like a lot of them. Like I was watching Succession last night, and like they have iPhones in it, and it's based in reality, and I you see that kind of stuff all the time. But a lot of these like spy movies where it's, or not even spy movies, just like any movie, it's not always specific. I don't know why how that decision gets made. And I wonder how they hire an artist to do that. Like, it's such an interesting thing.
Go back and look at any episode from any of the spin-offs or any version of CSI. And when you're watching CSI, you're looking at their computers like that they're using. Besides, first of all, being like these very intricate designs, the other thing that like I get a big kick out of is like, okay, you have like these like big, huge projector or what do you call monitors and holographic stuff, and I'm like, on the budget of a city that's, you know, I'm like, okay, I'm
sure you have this technology.
I'm overthinking all of this. I know for sure, because look, if I'm gonna bitch about that, then we might as well bitch about like any show or movie about anyone with any profession that, you know, like, again, you're making a modest living, and yet your apartment or house is this most gorgeous, beautiful thing. Right. But again, you're making a movie, you're making a show. I'm not gonna.
There's a suspension of disbelief. I just think it's fun to like really look at what we're seeing, you know, and the reality and how it would work. And I really enjoy that. That's like part of my enjoyment in these movies is how would this work in real life?
With every mission movie, we got to get to these three parts.
Yeah.
Rewatchability as a action movie and as a full movie. For the action, I will watch it.
Okay.
I will definitely, you know, there are certain scenes that, you know, that I will come back to. I'm trying to think the ones that I love in particular are when we realize that Cruise has switched with the lieutenant, and Sean notices, the pinky, you know, like the pinky that was cut, and he realizes what happened.
Yeah, like he notices the injury that's his henchman sustained, and Tom Cruise had done a face swap and tricked him.
Yeah, or like somewhere around that same time in the movie, there's like an explosion, you know, and Cruise walks by very dramatically. A dove flies through the door. Like
this movie has a lot of dramatic poses. In the scene where they're having the gunfight, where Cruise is trying to destroy the virus, all of the bad guys' henchmen are like shooting, just, you know, nondescript guys who can be killed off without any consequence to the main story. And the main bad guy is like, I think there's 3 cutaways in this gunfight to him just going, and like the camera sweeps past him, just like straight up posing. It's great.
This definitely felt like if an action movie was made by a cologne commercial director or something, like, you know, kind of.
Totally has that feel.
Oh my gosh.
Very dramatized.
So as a whole film though, not really. We were talking with the first movie, like if we start it, you have to finish it. I'm like, I'm okay if I don't finish this one.
100% agree. With all of that you just said, I think the only way I would watch this again in the next 5 years is if I wanted to show someone how ridiculous it is. And I don't think I would show them the whole movie. I think I would just show them like the motorcycle scene. It's great. I had a lot of fun watching it, but I don't think I would choose to watch the whole thing again anytime soon.
Yeah. What about now for the villain? How good is the villain part?
He's good and he's threatening, and like I did feel scared for Thandie Newton at a couple parts, but he's just kind of an asshole. And there's nothing about him that makes me feel like he's a supervillain. He's not a mastermind. He's just kind of violent and psychopathic, and like that can work, but I better than Jon Voight, I will say.
Yeah.
But I don't really feel like that's saying much.
So my feeling is in the franchise that Ambrose is the weakest villain, and that's frustrating, you know, and sad to say, because the concept is it's an interesting idea. Like I was reading about it and listening to some other podcasts, and they were saying, some of the writers and creatives and Cruise himself was like, the idea is, what if there was an evil Ethan Hunt?
Oh,
that could be cool. I just feel like but this was just like not a great execution of it. I just felt, and I say this now after the other movies have come out, because those villains were great. They had some backstory, motivation, you know. Yeah. When I saw it the first time, I'm like, this is a scary character, but then I forgot about it by the next year.
And like, I love the idea of a evil Ethan Hunt. I think that's a great idea, but I don't think it's a good idea for the second movie in the franchise. I feel like that's a 4th or 5th movie kind of thing, because we don't know Ethan Hunt very well yet. This is only the second time we've ever seen him. And on top of that, if you save this character for later, why not build him up in the first 3-4 movies? Like, why don't we get to know him and then see his turn to the dark side? That sounds way more interesting to me than just kind of throwing it out there. And also, I kind of feel like that idea is kind of done. Like GoldenEye, that's basically who Sean Bean is. I just feel like there's better ways to do it. I love that idea, you telling me that that's what the idea was, but that did not come across to me at all.
Well, and what's his name? Sean Bean's version of that, playing 006, it's a better execution of it. But exactly to your point, because that was Pierce Brosnan's first outing as Bond,
right.
But it wasn't that far before that there were some Bond movies that came out. So there already is some context to James Bond.
True.
You know?
Everyone knew what the deal was. Like Pierce Brosnan brought a freshness and a funness to the franchise that it needed, but no one was confused as to what they were getting into. Everyone knew what James Bond was. This is still like, we're not sure who Ethan Hunt is, especially because Mission Impossible 1 is such a weird thing on its own. Like it's a very bizarre, slow-paced spy movie. This is like such a left turn. It feels a little too soon to try to pull a move like that.
And then, Mark, every mission movie, you know I'm going to be looking for this, the Tom Cruise sprint. In this film, it's like with the first one, you got to kind of look for them.
Yeah.
But they were there. There were two.
Typically in slow motion, though.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like the first one was after he says very dramatically to Naya, like, stay alive, I'm not going to lose you. When he runs towards the big hole blown up in the wall and jumps out. And then the other one is when they're in that underground lab at the end of the movie. And he grabs Bellerophon and Chimera off the table and runs, but he's still wearing the mask of the lieutenant dude, like, you know. So those are the only two sprints. After this movie, though, every movie will have.
I need a sprint. I need a Tom Cruise sprint in my life. I can't wait to watch the next one for that. It'll be like that Leonardo DiCaprio meme where he's like pointing at the screen from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Yeah.
That's it.
That's what I'm going to be doing when the sprint happens.
So, man, we made it through Mission Impossible 2, and it feels weird. It feels like now it's kind of going in a capsule, and it's just going off now.
It took a minute for them to find what they're trying to do, and now they do it. And I'm really excited to crack into number 3 because I've only seen it once when it came out. So I'm really, really looking forward to this next one and to get into the feeling of Mission Impossible. Like when you think of this franchise, you think of the latter half. I'm really excited to get into these ones.
This next one, I'm definitely, excited for. And what I'm looking forward to is I have very strong feelings both on the still positives and negatives of it, because I still feel like it's correcting, but it's still finding its way.
Yet.
Yeah, it's still finding its way a little bit. And this part, I don't mind previewing now. Philip Seymour Hoffman, very excited to get into that.
Yeah, he's such a good actor that I love to see him as a villain.
Oh, yeah.
Because he's so scary. This talented Mr. Ripley, he's an indirect kind of villain. And Punch Drunk Love, he's an amazing villain. I'm really excited to see him as spy villain.
Yeah, talented Mr. Ripley. I keep thinking of that line. How's it peeping, Tom? How's it peeping? You know what I mean? Like, just,
He's so good. Like, just very unnerving man. I can't remember. Have you seen Boogie Nights?
A long time ago. I need to rewatch.
Okay. Because Philip Seymour Hoffman appears about like a third into that movie, maybe halfway through. And I've never seen him in anything like this. Like I almost didn't recognize him. And he's a very recognizable guy. But like, he is just so unlike anyone you've ever seen, anything you've ever seen him done. It's kind of weird to think, oh, this guy's going to play the Mission Impossible villain in a few years. Like he's one of a kind.
Yeah, that's a big part that I'm excited for. It's just going to be a whole new style for the franchise, but can't wait to get into it. And it's going to feel very different from this one.
Yeah, very. I'm ready for it. After today and watching this, I'm very ready for the new direction of Mission Impossible.
Awesome, man. We're going to get into it.
Can't wait.
And a quick note before we go, if you enjoyed today's episode and want more like it, please follow Soundspeed Action on your podcasting platform. And don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss an episode. And if you can drop us a review too, we'd really appreciate it. It really helps the podcast a lot. Thanks, and we'll be back with more episodes soon.